Welcome back, and good to see everybody out there. Hare Krishna. We're continuing our reading, and I must say, a glorious reading of the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. It's easy to forget how much is here and how deeply impactful it is. We're taking up at text number 161. With great assurance, he then told the devotees that Lord Caitanya would not go to Vrindavan at that time. Purport: Srila Nrsingananda Brahmachari was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, when he heard that from Kulia Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan, although he had no material wealth, he began to construct within his mind a very attractive path or road for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to traverse. Some of the description of this path is given above, but even mentally he could not construct the road beyond Kanai Natashala. Therefore, he concluded that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not go to Vrindavan at that time. For a pure devotee, it is the same whether he materially constructs a path or constructs one within his mind. This is because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan, is bhava-grahi, or appreciative of the sentiment. For him, a path made with actual jewels and a path made of mental jewels are the same. Though subtle, mind is also matter. So any path, indeed anything for the service of the Lord, whether in gross matter or in subtle matter, is accepted equally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord accepts the attitude of his devotee and sees how much he is prepared to serve him. The devotee is at liberty to serve the Lord either in gross matter or in subtle matter. The important point is that the service be in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayashchiti tadaham bhaktuparitam ashnami pariyathatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. The real ingredient is bhakti, devotion. Pure devotion is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature. Ahaitukya pratiyata. Unconditional devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. This means that one does not have to be very rich to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the poorest man can equally serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he has pure devotion. If there is no ulterior motive, devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. Nrsingananda Brahmachari said, the Lord will go to Kanai Natashala and then will return. All of you will come to know of this later, but I now say this with great assurance. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to proceed from Kulia toward Vrindavan, thousands of men were with him, and all of them were devotees. Wherever the Lord visited, crowds of innumerable people came to see him. When they saw him, all their unhappiness and lamentation disappeared. Wherever the Lord touched the ground with his lotus feet, people immediately came and gathered the dirt. Indeed, they gathered so much that many holes were created in the road. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually arrived at a village named Ramakeli. This village is situated on the border of Bengal and is very exquisite. Purport: Ramakeli Gram is situated on the banks of the Ganges on the border of Bengal. Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami had their residences in this village. 167. While performing Sankirtan in Ramakeli Gram, the Lord danced and sometimes lost consciousness due to love of God. While at Ramakeli Gram, an unlimited number of people came to see his lotus feet. When the Muslim king of Bengal heard of Caitanya Mahaprabhu's influence in attracting innumerable people, he became very much astonished and began to speak as follows. Purport. At that time, the Muslim king of Bengal was Nawab Hussain Shah Badasaha 169. Such a person who is followed by so many people without giving them charity must be a prophet. I can surely understand this fact. The Muslim king ordered the magistrate, do not disturb this Hindu prophet out of jealousy. Let him do his own will wherever he likes. Even a Muslim king could understand Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental position as a prophet. Therefore, he ordered the local magistrate not to disturb him, but to let him do whatever he liked. When the Muslim king asked his assistant, Keshava Chatri, for news of the influence of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Keshava Chatri, although knowing everything about Caitanya Mahaprabhu, tried to avoid the conversation by not giving any importance to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. Purport. Keshava Chatri became a diplomat when questioned about Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Although he knew everything about him, he was afraid that the Muslim king might become his enemy. He gave no importance to the Lord's activities so that the Muslim king would take him to be an ordinary man and would not give him any trouble. Keshava Chatri informed the Muslim king that Caitanya Mahaprabhu was a mendicant, touring different places of pilgrimage, and that, as such, only a few people came to see him. Keshava Chatri said, out of jealousy, your Muslim servant plots against him. I think that you should not be very interested in him, for there is no profit in it. Rather, there is simply loss. After pacifying the king in this way, Keshava Chatri sent a Brahmana messenger to Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu requesting him to leave without delay. In private, the king inquired from Dabir Kas, Srila Rupa Goswami, who began to speak about the glories of the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who gave you this kingdom and whom you accept as a prophet has taken birth in your country due to your good fortune. This prophet always desires your good fortune. By his grace, all your business is successful. By his blessings, you will attain victory everywhere. Why are you questioning me? Better that you question your own mind. Because you are the king of the people, you are the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you can understand this better than I. Thus, Srila Rupa Goswami informed the king about his mind as a way of knowing Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He assured the king that whatever occurred in his mind could be considered evidence. The king replied, I consider Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no doubt about it. After having this conversation with Rupa Goswami, the king entered his private house. Rupa Goswami, then known as Dabira Kas, also returned to his residence. Purport. A monarch is certainly a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the proprietor of all planetary systems. In each and every planet, there must be some king, governmental head, or executive. Such a person is supposed to be the representative of Lord Vishnu. On behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must see to the interests of all the people. Therefore, Lord Vishnu, as Paramatma, gives the king all intelligence to execute governmental affairs. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore asked the king what was in his mind concerning Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and indicated that whatever the king thought about him was correct. After returning to his residence, Dabir Kas and his brother decided after much consideration to go to the Lord's incognito. Thus, in the dead of night, the two brothers Dabir Kas and Sakhara Malik went to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu incognito. First they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that two personalities, Sri Rupa and Sanatan, had come to see him. Purport: Sakara Malik was the name of Sanatan Goswami and Dabira Kas was the name of Rupa Goswami. They were recognized by these names in the service of the Muslim king. Therefore, these are Muslim names. As officials, the brothers adopted all kinds of Muslim customs. In great humility, both brothers took bunches of straw between their teeth, and each binding a cloth around his neck, fell down like rods before the Lord. Madhavananda Prabhu was telling us the origin of putting straw in your teeth. He said, if somebody in a village would make an offense, like accidentally killed an animal or something, then to beg forgiveness, it would go door to door. But he wouldn't make any excuses. That's why the straw's in the teeth. Because your mouth is full of straw, so you can't say anything. You just have to accept the chastisement of everybody. They open the door. You rascal, you fool, and you just have to stand there and take it. That's the idea of the straw in the teeth. In great humility, both brothers took bunches of straw between their teeth, and each binding a cloth around his neck, fell down like rods before the Lord. Upon seeing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers were overwhelmed with joy, and out of humility they began to cry. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them to get up and assured them of all good fortune. The two brothers got up, and again taking straw between their teeth, they humbly offered their prayers with folded hands. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most merciful Savior of the fallen souls. All glories to the Supreme Personality. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, and our associates and employment are also of the lowest type. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing here before you. Purport: although the two brothers Rupa and Sanatan, at that time Dabir Kas and Sakara Malik, presented themselves as being born in a low family, they nonetheless belonged to a most respectable Brahmana family that was originally from Karnataka. Thus, they actually belonged to the Brahmana caste. Unfortunately, because of being associated with the Muslim governmental service, their customs and behavior resembled those of the Muslims. Therefore, they presented themselves as Nicha Jati. The word Jati means birth. Nicha Jati. The word Jati means birth. According to Shastra, there are three kinds of birth. The first birth is from the womb of the mother. The second birth is the acceptance of the reformatory method. And the third birth is acceptance by the spiritual master, initiation. One becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. Rupa and Sanatan, as Dabir Kas and Sakara Malik, associated with Muslims who are naturally opposed to Brahminical culture and cow protection. In Srimad Bhagavatam's 7th canto, it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification. A person is identifiable by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. By one's symptoms, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both Dabir Kas and Sakara Malik belong to the Brahmana caste, but because they were employed by Muslims, their original habits degenerated into those of the Muslim community, since the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil. They identified themselves with the lowest caste. In the Bhakti Ratnakara, it is clearly stated that because Sakara Malik and Dabir Kas associated with low-class men, they introduced themselves as belonging to the lower classes. Actually, however, they had been born in respectable Brahmana families. Dear Lord, let us inform you that no one is more sinful than us, nor is there any offender like us. Even if we wanted to mention our sinful activities, we would immediately become ashamed, and what to speak of giving them up. Purport: this verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.154 by Srila Rupa Goswami. What a beautiful verse, huh? Matulyo nasti papatma naparadi chikashchana parihari pilajya me kimbruvo purushottama. That's in that 5 verses that we say. Matsamo nastipapa ma naparadi chikashchana parihari pilajya me kimbruve purushottama. Yuvatinam yata yuni yunam cha yuvata yuvata mano birmate tadvan manome ramatam tvayi. So now we know where that one's from. Patita pavana hetu tomar avatar ama bhai jagate patita nahi aro. The 2 brothers submitted. Dear Lord, you have incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. You should consider that in this world there is none so fallen as us. You have delivered the 2 brothers Jagai and Madai, but to deliver them you did not have to exert yourself very much. The brothers Jagai and Madai belonged to the Brahmin caste, and their residence was in the holy place of Navadvip. They never served low-class persons, nor were they instruments to abominable activity. Jagai and Madai had but one fault. They were addicted to sinful activity. However, volumes of sinful activity can be burned to ashes simply by a dim reflection of the chanting of your holy name. Purport: Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami presented themselves as being lower than the 2 brothers Jagai and Madai, who were delivered by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. When Rupa and Sanatana compared themselves to Jagai and Madai, they found themselves inferior because the Lord had no trouble in delivering 2 drunken brothers. This was so because despite the fact that they were addicted to sinful activity, in other ways their life was brilliant. They belonged to the Brahmin caste of Navadvip, and such Brahmanas were pious by nature. Although they had been addicted to some sinful activities due to bad association, those unwanted things could vanish simply because of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Another point for Jagai and Madai was that as members of a Brahmana family, they did not accept service under anyone. The Shastras strictly forbid a Brahmana to accept service under anyone. The idea is that by accepting a master, one accepts the occupation of a dog. In other words, a dog cannot thrive without having a master, and for the sake of pleasing the master, dogs offend many people. They bark at innocent people just to please the master. Similarly, when one is a servant, he has to perform abominable activities according to the order of the master. Therefore, when Dabir Kas and Sakara Malik compared their position to that of Jagai and Madai, they found Jagai's and Madai's position far better. Jagai and Madai never accepted the position of serving a low-class person, nor were they forced to execute abominable activities under the order of a low-class master. Jagai and Madai chanted the name of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu by way of blasphemy. But because they simply chanted his name, they immediately became free from the reactions of sinful activities. Thus, they were later saved. Jagai and Madai uttered your holy name by way of blaspheming you. Fortunately, that holy name became the cause of their deliverance. That's just a point from the sojourn of Jai and Vijay. As when they first took birth as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaka, they moved onwards 2 more times because they didn't recognize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They first saw him as as he says in their fight, some Hiranyaka called the Lord some amphibious beast. And Ramchandra fighting against Ravana just thought he was an empowered human being. He didn't understand that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Shishupal, he knew he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And from the time he was born, he was uttering blasphemous statements against him. And that's why he was delivered in his last incarnation. And that's noted in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami, that progression took place because of that. Jagai Madai uttered your holy name by way of blasphemy. Oh, and my other point was, it's there in the Bhagavatam, that all the demons, they got benefit, even though they were against the Lord. The only one who didn't get any benefit was Vena. Vena didn't get liberated because he completely ignored. It's right there. As Shukadeva says, yeah, everybody got liberated by Krishna, except for Vena. Because Vena said, there is no God. What are you talking about? I'm God. He didn't get any benefit. We too are millions and millions of times inferior to Jagai and Madai. We are more degraded, fallen, and sinful than they. Actually, we belong to the caste of meat-eaters because we are servants of meat-eaters. Indeed, our activities are exactly like those of meat-eaters. Because we always associate with such people, we are inimical towards the cows and the brahmanas. Purport, there are two kinds of meat-eaters, one who is born in a family of meat-eaters and one who has learned to associate with meat-eaters. From Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, formerly Dabir Kas and Sakara Malik, we can learn how one attains the character of a meat-eater simply by associating with meat-eaters. At the present moment, in India, the presidential offices are occupied by many so-called brahmanas, but the state maintains slaughterhouses for killing cows and makes propaganda against Vedic civilization. The first principle of Vedic civilization is the avoidance of meat eating and intoxication. Presently, in India, intoxication and meat eating are encouraged, and the so-called learned brahmanas presiding over this state of affairs have certainly become degraded according to the standard given herein by Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. These so-called brahmanas give sanction to slaughterhouses for the sake of a fat salary, and they do not protest these abominable activities. By deprecating the principles of Vedic civilization and supporting cow killing, they are immediately degraded to the platform of mlechas and yavanas. A mlecha is a meat eater, and a yavana is one who has deviated from Vedic culture. Unfortunately, such mlechas and yavanas are in executive power. How then can there be peace and prosperity in the state? Indeed. The king or the president must be the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Maharaj Yudhishthira accepted the rule of Bharatavarsha, formerly this entire planet, including all the seas and land, he took sanction from authorities like Bhishmadev and Lord Kṛṣṇa. He thus ruled the entire world according to religious principles. At the present moment, however, heads of state do not care for religious principles. If irreligious people vote on an issue, even though it be against the principles of the Shastras, the bills will be passed. The president and heads of state become sinful by agreeing to such abominable activities. Sanatana and Rupa Goswami pleaded guilty to such activities. They therefore classified themselves among the mlechas, although they had been born in a Brahmana family. The two brothers Sakara Malik and Dabir Kas very humbly submitted that due to their abominable activities they were now bound by the neck and hands and had been thrown into a ditch filled with abominable stool-like objects of material sense enjoyment. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has explained Ku Vishaya Karta as follows. Because of the activities of the senses, we become subjected to many sense-gravitatory processes and are thus entangled by the laws of material nature. This entanglement is called Vishaya. When the sense-gravitatory processes are executed by pious activity, they are called Suvishaya. The word Su means good, and Vishaya means sense objects. When the sense-gravitatory activities are performed under sinful conditions, they are called Kuvishaya, bad sense enjoyment. In either case, either Kuvishaya or Suvishaya, these are material activities. As such, they are compared to stool. In other words, such things are to be avoided. To become free from Suvishaya and Kuvishaya, one must engage himself in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The activities of devotional service are free from the contamination of material qualities. Therefore, to be free from the reactions of suvishaya and kuvishaya, one must take to Krishna consciousness. In that way, one will save himself from contamination. In this connection, Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung Karma Kanda Jnana Kanda Kevala Vishara Vanda Amrita Baliya Jevakai Nana Yoni Sada Pire Kadarya Bhakshana Kare Tara Janma Adapate Jaya. Suvishaya and Kuvishaya both fall under the category of Karma Kanda. There is another kanda, platform of activity called Jnana Kanda, or philosophical speculation about the effects of Kuvishaya and Suvishaya, with the intention to find out the means of deliverance from material entanglement. On the platform of Jnana Kanda, one may give up the objects of Kuvishaya and Suvishaya, but that is not the perfection of life. Perfection is transcendental to both Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. It is on the platform of devotional service. If we do not take to devotional service in Krishna consciousness, we have to remain within the material world and endure the repetition of birth and death due to the effects of Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says, Nana Joni Sada Pire, Katarya Bhakshana Kare, Tar Janma Adapate Jaya. One travels throughout various species of life and eats all kinds of nonsense. Thus he spoils his existence. A man in material existence and attached to Kuvishaya and Suvishaya is in the same position as that of a worm in stool. After all, whether it be moist or dry, stool is stool. Similarly, material activities may be either pious or impious, but because they are all material, they are compared to stool. Worms cannot get out of stool by their own endeavor. Similarly, those who are overly attached to material existence cannot get out of materialism and suddenly become Krishna conscious. Attachment is there, as explained by Prahlad Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam 7.530. Atirna Krishne Padataksato va mito pipadyeta grahabhatanam Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Punak Punascharvita Charvananam. Those who have made up their minds to remain in this material world and enjoy sense gratification cannot become Krishna conscious. Because of their attachment to material activity, they cannot attain liberation, either by the instructions of superior persons, or by their own endeavor, or by passing resolutions in big conferences. Because their senses are uncontrolled, they gradually descend to the darkest regions of material existence to repeat the same process of birth and death in desirable or undesirable species of life. 199. No one within the three worlds is sufficiently powerful to deliver us. You are the only Savior of the fallen souls, therefore there is no one but you. If you simply deliver us by your transcendental strength, then certainly your name will be known as Patita Pavana, the Savior of the fallen souls. Let us speak one word that is very true. Plainly hear us, O merciful one. There is no other object of mercy within the three worlds but us. We are the most fallen. Therefore, by showing us your mercy is most successful. Let the power of your mercy be exhibited throughout the entire universe. Let us submit one piece of information before you, dear Lord. It is not at all false, but is full of meaning. It is this: if you are not merciful upon us, then it will be very, very difficult to find more suitable candidates for your mercy. This verse is from the Stotra Ratna 47 by Sri Jamunacharya. We are very depressed at being unfit candidates for your mercy. Yet since we have heard of your transcendental qualities, we are very much attracted to you. Indeed, we are like a dwarf who wants to capture the moon. Although we are completely unfit, a desire to receive your mercy is awakening within our minds. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? Purport: in his teachings to Sanatana Goswami, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu has declared every living entity to be an eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the constitutional position of all living entities. Just as a dog or servant is very much satisfied to get a competent, perfect master, or as a child is completely satisfied to possess a competent father, so the living entity is satisfied by completely engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord. He thereby knows that he has a competent master to save him from all kinds of danger. Unless the living entity comes to the guaranteed protection of the Supreme Lord, he is full of anxiety. This life of anxiety is called material existence. To be completely satisfied and devoid of anxiety, one must come to the position of eternally rendering service to the Supreme Lord. This verse is also from Stotra Ratna 43 by Sri Yamunacharya. Text 207. After hearing the prayer of Dabir Khas and Sakara Malik, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Dabir Khas, you two brothers are my old servants. My dear Sakara Malik, from this day, your names will be changed to Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatan. Now please abandon your humility, for my heart is breaking to see you so humble." Purport: actually, this is Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's initiation of Dabir Khas and Sakara Malik. They approached the Lord with all humility, and the Lord accepted them as old servants, as eternal servants, and he changed their names. It is to be understood from this that it is essential for a disciple to change his name after initiation. Shankha Chakrad Urdva Pundra Dharanadhyatma Lakshanam Tannama Karanam Chaiva Vaishnavatvam Ihochate. After initiation, the disciple's name must be changed to indicate that he is a servant of Lord Vishnu. The disciple should also immediately begin marking his body with tilak, urdhva pundra, especially his forehead. These are spiritual marks, symptoms of a perfect Vaishnav. This is a verse from the Padma Purana, Uttarakanda. A member of the Sahajiya Sampradaya does not change his name, therefore he cannot be accepted as a Gaudiya Vaishnav. If a person does not change his name after initiation, it is to be understood that he will continue in his bodily conception of life. Any reflections or questions about anything so far? Yes. 1, 2.
Mine is just a...
No, use the mic.
Hare Krishna? Yeah. Yeah, just a comment, not so much a question. I was just thinking about how Gopal Kṛṣṇa Maharaj, when he got initiated by Prabhupada, Prabhupada just said, "Oh, you already have a name of Vishnu, so I'm just going to add Das to your name." And then he was named Gopal Kṛṣṇa Das. So I was just thinking, adding Das, in a way, is that, I mean, not really a question, but I guess is that a demarcation of being a servant of Vishnu, a name of Vishnu.
So that's not a question, right?
Yeah, it's just a comment. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I find it interesting that how Prabhupada in his purport explains that because they were servants of someone else and they had to carry out the orders of their master, therefore they were considered as, I mean, they at least they consider themselves more sinful than Jagai and Madhai, because Jagai and Madhai, there's a whole list of activities which they performed which even Yamaraj also faints. That's mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So, I mean, I found this a little, very, very interesting, very surprising that how, because of the fact that they were masters under somebody else, they were servants under somebody else, they considered themselves to be more fallen than Jagai and Madai, although it's very incomprehensible, the kind of things that Jagai and Madai did.
Yeah. Agree. Mukarman?
Same when that song that Madhavan Prabhu sings, Gauranga Karuna Karo, Ame Dina Hina Jani, Mosama Patita Prabhu Nahe Tribhuvani. Like that song has the same feeling. What they're saying, like if Yadi Daya Na Karibe, like if you don't give me mercy, then you'll not find anyone better than.
Yeah, devotees love that song, and also I've noted that when devotees hear Bhaktivinoda Thakur's submissions to the Lord in the Sharanagati, especially in the first section, he's so humble and self-deprecating, and that becomes so attractive to the devotees. I remember when years ago, when we were having programs at our house, I pulled that book out and we started reading it during the group readings, and everyone was astonished by his humility, stark humility. And everyone said, I need a copy, you have to take it home. We had to reprint the book so everyone could get it. Everyone was enthusiastic. My main point was that such humility is compelling, and it's very attractive. Anything from outside people's party? Yes. We'll get you a mic. Here it comes.
Thank you. I have a comment and a question. In verse 161, it says there that in the purport, Prabhupada says, if there is no ulterior motive, devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. And it's interesting how we always want to blame someone, the management or this and that, but actually it's our own consciousness and some motive we have for external recognition, even spiritually, externally being successful, but it's motivated. So I found that quite interesting. And I have a question on 171. It says, Keshava Chatri became a diplomat when questioned about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's interesting how diplomacy can be used in Krishna consciousness. Could you talk a bit about that?
That wasn't a question.
Oh, like how a devotee is...
Did you ask a question?
Well, sorry, I didn't. A devotee should be straightforward. So in this circumstance, diplomacy was used to protect Lord Chaitanya.
Even in ethics, you have to understand the purpose of it. In ethics classes, they'll teach you that you should always tell the truth. But if you're harboring an innocent person who's fleeing from despots, and those despots come to your door and say, such and such here, for the sake of being truthful, you say, yes, just right upstairs, and they charge up there and kill him. That's unethical, even though you didn't tell the truth. And not to be taken as licensed to do whatever we want like we used to in the old days. But it's a fact that when one is motivated by serving Krishna, and again, with caveats up and down, one has to be extremely careful and self-searching. Then, for instance, Sanatana Goswami, he was in jail in some low-class jail with a low-class jailer, and Sanatana Goswami told him that you're a saint among men. When Raghunath Das Goswami was taken as a hostage, so that the government could get its money, its tax money that they were skimming. Raghunath Das Goswami's family was skimming, and then they were all on the take, all those people in the government, so they wanted their cut too, and they thought he was getting too much. So they stole Raghunath Das Goswami, the son, and they were holding him, they're keeping him captive. I mean, he was so expert, and he told those people, he said, "Oh, you guys are so saintly." When Sanatan Goswami told the jailkeeper that, then Kaviraj Goswami said a tear came from the jailer's eye and rolled down through his beard. And so we get the impression there, as we do from other directives from Vaishnavacharyas who say when you go to teach Krishna consciousness, you have to tell people things like, you're so masterful, no one is as qualified as you are. Fall down at the person's leg and say, you're the greatest, and then they'll say, well, how can I help you? And it's like, if you just forget everything you've ever learned, take this book, and so forth. So that this is diplomacy used to help somebody come forward to surrender to Krishna. And when it's in that vein, then it's engageable in Krishna service. Again, with caveats up and down, because we've seen it by degrees become the modus operandi of every aspect of life, because devotees then might think carte blanche, whatever I do is okay, because I'm doing, ultimately it's all for Krishna, so it doesn't matter. And that's not good. So we have to be mature and wise and be circumspect when we do engage in diplomacy. And my experience is that people, if we're insincere and our motive is not absolutely correct, in other words, if we're trying to manipulate somebody because for our own purposes, even if it's in the context of Krishna consciousness, eventually people will discover that, or they'll see it right away, and it's a stain on the devotees for being insincere. So again, it's subtle and it has to be done with proper motive. Thank you for your question. One last point, please go ahead. Okay, 1, 2.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, sorry, maybe I'll move here. One comment on the point that Mataji mentioned was, I think in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada talks about the dress of a devotee, and in that same purport he also says that sometimes cheating is okay because we are giving everyone Krishna consciousness. So that's a comment. And then,
did you say that? Cheating is okay?
He said that he quoted Chanakya Pandit, and then I can find the verse purport and I'll share.
That we read recently? Or from another time?
From another time, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing I was just saying.
Yes.
And what about the dress?
In that same purport, he talks about the dress, and he says any dress is okay. You can wear any dress and preach Krishna consciousness.
Well, they're really different. I mean, I know of a couple purports where Prabhupada talks about, one purport about dress is in the story of Prataparuja. It'll come up later. When he goes to meet Caitanya Mahaprabhu in the Jagat Vallabh Gardens, Mahaprabhu was taking rest during the Rath Yatra, and Prataparuja, under the direction of Sarvabhaumacharya, goes there wearing the dress, although he's a king, he wears the dress of a Vaishnav, which at that time was just some white cloth. Vaishnavas wore white, they didn't wear saffron, because that's Varnashrama. That was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta for a different topic. And so then Prabhupada mentions there in the purport that devotees can dress, it's utilitarian. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he just wore regular Navadvip clothes, whatever that was at the time, when he was a kid. And then he noticed that it would be an advantage if he took sannyas, because everyone bows to a sannyasi and says, yes sir, whatever you say sir. And he wanted people to be submissive and not be rebellious as they were being. And so he changed his dress. So that's the principle as far as dress goes. As far as cheating goes, as I was saying just in the last few paragraphs, we have to be very, very careful. If Krishna gives an opportunity, Prabhupada talks about transcendental fraud. And that happens providentially. For instance, when Vidura left the palace, he had already an inclination to be renounced and go off. And when Duryodhana started screaming at him in his own house, he just said, okay, this is your opportunity, let's go. And Prabhupada said he did it too. Because he wanted to get detached, and it's not so easy. You know, sometimes you have something on your body and you want to get rid of it, but it doesn't, but then you bump into something and just, there it's gone. And so similarly, devotees are always looking for an opportunity for being more renounced or being more dedicated to Krishna, which is the same thing. Being more dedicated to Krishna means renunciation. And so if it comes up, then sometimes people in the context of one's daily life might think that you're cheating them because you should stay with us forever and always do your service. Prabhupada mentioned it with Mrs. Sharma, who wanted to join the Krishna conscious movement. She was becoming elderly, and she had served her family for many years and got really attracted to Krishna consciousness, and then she went home to tell her family she wanted to get initiated, and they all were against it. And Prabhupada said, just see, she served them their whole lives, and now they say, don't serve Krishna, you have to stay here and serve us. He said, in the material world, it never ends. So the cheating part comes when you cheat Maya. You're not cheating somebody else, but you cheat Maya, because you have to be ready for that in your heart, that you're looking for that opportunity. And when it comes, then you say, okay, thank you. You gave me the perfect excuse to walk out on you, Maya, because you've been cheating me for many, many lifetimes, and now I'm going to cheat you back. And Prabhupada said, you have to cheat death before death cheats you, because that's the ultimate cheat. At the very end, after you work so hard for everything, and death comes along and says, I'll take that. But if you give it all away before the death comes and knocks into your house, and they go, okay, we're going to take your stuff, and he goes, sorry, I already gave it away. That's real cheating. Okay, we just have a few more minutes. And
I just have one quick question.
Oh, yes, sorry.
So in the 161 purport, Srila Prabhupada says that, talks about the two kinds of services, gross service or a subtle way of service. Gross matter or subtle matter is accepted equally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So my question is, Maharaj, should we, usually what I've heard is you do subtle service when you are sufficiently advanced, or is that not the case? Like anyone
you
can
have
do,
what?
Is someone needs to be more advanced to do subtle service, or anyone can do a subtle service?
You just have to be sincere. Subtle or gross, it has to be sincere. Try it out on your wife. Let's just say you're supposed to cook dinner, and when she comes home, you say, yeah, I've been sitting here meditating on cooking your dinner, and are you cool with that? And she may, give you a sour look and walk off and say, you've cheated me. So, we have to be sincere. If there's a situation in which you're overwhelmingly desirous of serving Krishna, like was the case with Haridas Thakur and Advaita Acharya, when Lord Caitanya appeared, they were offering charity in their minds because that's what they had at the time. And it's not to be misused. The poor Brahmana who had no resources but who meditated every day on cooking sweet rice is glorified because he was sincere. So we can't misuse it. And it is a kind of advancement to be sincere. And if you're meditating on offering something, it's going to manifest also externally, because everything goes from subtle to gross. And if you're in your mind thinking about how to worship Krishna in different ways, Krishna will make arrangements so that you can do that more and more. In fact, you'll be able to do it eternally in the spiritual world. Thanks for such compelling questions, Prabhu. Are you satisfied? No.
Yes, fully satisfied.
Oh, okay. That's a lot. Okay. We'll just do a few more verses. I think we ended at 209, right? You have written several letters showing your humility. I can understand your behavior from those letters. By your letters, I could understand your heart. Therefore, in order to teach you, I sent you one verse, which reads as follows. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs. But within her heart, she is always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. I really had no business in coming to Bengal, but I have come just to see you two brothers. Everyone is asking why I have come to this village of Ramakeli. No one knows my intentions. It is very good that you two brothers have come to see me. Now you can go home. Do not fear anything. Birth after birth, you have been my eternal servants. I am sure that Krishna will deliver you very soon. The Lord then placed his two hands on the heads of both of them, and in return, they immediately placed the lotus feet of the Lord on their heads. After this, the Lord embraced both of them and requested all of the devotees present to be merciful upon them and deliver them. When all the devotees saw the mercy of the Lord upon the two brothers, they were very much gladdened, and they began to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare, Hare. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtar Payeche Keba. Unless one serves a Vaishnav, he cannot be delivered. The spiritual master initiates the disciple to deliver him, and if the disciple executes the order of the spiritual master and does not offend other Vaishnavas, his path is clear. Consequently, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu requested all the Vaishnavas present to show mercy toward the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, who had just been initiated by the Lord. When a Vaishnava sees that another Vaishnava is a recipient of the Lord's mercy, he becomes very happy. Vaishnavas are not envious. If a Vaishnava, by the mercy of the Lord, is empowered by him to distribute the Lord's holy name all over the world, other Vaishnavas become very joyful. That is, if they are truly Vaishnavas. One who is envious of the success of a Vaishnava is certainly not a Vaishnava himself, but an ordinary mundane man. Envy and jealousy are manifested by mundane people, not by Vaishnavas. Why should a Vaishnava be envious of another Vaishnava who is successful in spreading the holy name of the Lord? An actual Vaishnava is very pleased to accept another Vaishnava who is bestowing the Lord's mercy. A mundane person in the dress of a Vaishnava should not be respected but rejected. This is enjoined in the Shastra, upeksha. The word upeksha means neglect. One should neglect an envious person. A preacher's duty is to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, make friendships with Vaishnavas, show mercy to the innocent, or reject or neglect those who are envious or jealous. There are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. There is no need to serve a jealous person who is in the dress of a Vaishnava. When Narottam Das Thakur says Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payiche Keba, he is indicating an actual Vaishnava, not an envious or jealous person in the dress of a Vaishnava. Just a point about that. Upeksha means to not engage. It doesn't mean to become your enemy's enemy. Lord Krishna says that in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And in the verse in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that mentions how one should engage with various categories of people in general, or entities. He says, Ishvare taradineshu balisheshu dvisatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha. That the Madhyamadikari should develop love for Krishna, should have appropriate friendships with devotees, maitri, should give as much mercy as possible to the innocent, and should avoid or be upeksha to the envious. But Jiva Goswami in that context says that even if you avoid people who are envious, because it just makes them more envious when you engage with them, you should pray for them. So one could take this the wrong way possibly and say if there are certain people, they're in the dress of Vaishnavas, and then get on the internet and start saying, yeah, almost everybody is a fake Vaishnav. And some people actually have that point of view, that there is nobody in the world that's a really true Vaishnav. Everyone's just faking it. And that's not what this is. That's not the mood of this purport, that one should do that. One should be careful. Yes, Prabhu.
What I found interesting here is that Prabhupada says that there are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna conscious movement, and they should be completely neglected. He doesn't say go on the internet and write about them. So they should be neglected. Yeah,
tender, loving neglect. TLN instead of TLC. You got a point? Okay, last one, because we're done. One and done.
In the same purport, Prabhupada was so clearly saying that how one should be happy by seeing the other Vaishnavas successful, and I'm sure Prabhupada was referring like how that challenge he faced when he was preaching the movement from his siblings. But that Prabhupada was sharing that the sign is that you should be happy seeing the other people's success. That is very instructive. Yeah. I find always whenever I read, it always bring back to the like what should we should aspire in our life.
Well, for those who have developed that generosity of heart to appreciate the good work of other devotees without envying them or feeling overly competitive. Competition's always there, but it should be marked by appreciation for the person and wanting to follow in their footsteps and try to do as well as they're doing, because they're setting such a good example, and not try to not to feel adverse to such a person, and certainly not try to impede their progress, and that can happen. So it's extremely important, because when we remain non-envious, and we have every reason not to be envious, because Krishna is all opulent. He's there for every living being equally. And if we tend to our own field and cultivate it properly, there's no question that we'll be fully abundant because of Krishna's generosity. It's already there, even for the animals, what to speak of others. So we have no cause to be envious of other people. We just have to develop our own service to Krishna and our own mentality for him. And the other compelling point is that when we're envious of somebody who's doing something well, then we become impervious to their good qualities. When we appreciate, as Voltaire once said, the good qualities in others, then they become ours. When we have true appreciation without envy, not even a drop of envy, then the qualities of that exalted person, they go right straight into our heart, and we take them up too. So that's our choice. Well, thank you, everybody. It's always in the very beginning, there's jet lag going around, there's acclimatization, and especially now in September, it's a little slightly warmer than other climes around the world. So it takes a little adjustment. But isn't it ecstatic? Yes. So we're hiding out here. Nobody can find us, actually, because we got our little fortress here, and we're going to do as much damage to the material nature as possible from this one little place. They won't know it hit them out there because the vibration is going to go out. That's why so many tulsis are growing here too, because of the vibrations. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Gaura-Nitai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Radhe Shyam. If you so desire, please instill in our hearts an appreciation for all devotees. Please show us the true meaning of being upeksha towards the ones that are annoying. And please give us the wherewithal to go on hearing the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in the association of all the sincere devotees who have gathered here. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Vanchakalpataruscha Kripasinabhe Vichapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Anantakoti Vaishnaviniki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.